I'm Shelley Appleton. Welcome to this training insight. This is solving teeth grinding, busy mouth, and chomping with the bit. So the behaviour is when the horse constantly fiddles, plays, or chomps on the bit, or grinds their teeth with the bit in the mouth. The cause is anxiety about the bit, or just stress in general, or it can be both. So horses may do it as a neurotic coping mechanism when they're feeling stressed, kind of like chewing gum or having a cigarette or something like that, something to try and dissipate some energy and stress inside them. Therefore, it can be triggered when the horse feels stressed. So when it feels stressed, it will start chomping. So that's why some horses, will be fine, and then they get to an event and they'll start chomping or doing something that they're worried about. They'll start chomping on the bit. They can also do it, though, when they have a belief that moving their mouth around and constantly moving their tongue and playing with the bit will protect their mouth. Okay, it's normally when they've got really poor clarity about the bit and not a lot of confidence with it. And what can happen is, because they're kind of neurotically trying to protect their mouth, it can actually become a habit. So as soon as the bit goes in, they start cycling through this looping, kind of repetitive, kind of moving their mouth around. But it's all done, in my belief, as a protective, defensive coping mechanism. So here are the solutions that I have. First of all, because the horse is generally associated with stress, I completely reboot the horse's foundation training from the groundwork up into the saddle. So I just reboot them back. I just completely reset them. So reset the horse's response to reduce their overall stress, because they have greater understanding, improved motivation and confidence. And normally I've also helped them physically become more fit and gymnastically prepared to be ridden. And what this does is it reduces the feelings of being stressed. Therefore, it reduces the need to neurotically cope with what they're going through. Also, I just want to make a special note here that if your horse doesn't do it, or only does it in certain circumstances when it gets worried about stuff, and then it starts chomping on the bit when it normally doesn't, that's a bit of a heads up that the horse is experiencing some extra stress. So, I've had this experience with horses that have developed laminitis or other kind of pain conditions or ulcers. Their amount of chomping on the bit has increased. So solving it's all about breaking habits. So if the grinding, busy mouth or chomping are habits, you can break it by drawing the horse's attention to it, because it's kind of done neurotically. They're kind of not doing it consciously. It's a subconscious kind of way of trying to dissipate some energy or protect their mouth. So what you do is you draw a horse's attention to it, and then you train the horse to have a quiet mouth. So in this video, I'm going to show you an insight into how I do this. So just the background to this footage, it's clinic footage. It was an off-the-track thoroughbred that presented with chronic chomping and busy mouth. And this is really typical of off-the-track thoroughbreds that normally come with a pretty negative association with the bit and very poor understanding. Like their understanding of coming off the bit tends to be quite poor, and I generally will always remouth and retrain this response in all thoroughbreds that I come across. So what you do is you initially, it's just using, so this is just the preliminary way that I solve it, but it's a pretty powerful bit of footage here, because you can see you can actually stop it pretty quickly, although what I'm showing you here is just the start of my process, but it should give you some ideas. So I just work with the lateral flexion response, the most easiest response to the bit, and what I do is I initially just give the horse a release of pressure and reinforce when the horse follows the feel of each rein. So lateral flexion is just done one rein at a time. So that if they follow the rein and then give to the pressure, I drop the rein and release the pressure and reward that. So it teaches the horse to follow that feel of that rein around in the lateral response. They'll still be chomping and moving their mouth around at this stage, but I don't worry about that just yet. Then what I do when they're following it really well, what I do is I add on. So I add on for the need for the horse to have a quiet mouth for a release to be given. And I tell you what, people don't believe this, but horses pick that up really quickly. So what I do is I initially catch them when they've got their mouth closed. Okay, so in between chomps. And then you'll be surprised when the horse has learnt that, you know, it gets a release of pressure if it follows the rein around. When you don't give, it starts searching for answers. And when it goes to its mind and goes into its consciousness, when it's trying to problem solve, it'll actually stop chomping because it starts thinking, because this chomping is very neurotic and it's very subconscious. And then they learn that if they have a quiet mouth, they get a release of pressure. And you'll see in this clinic footage that it's pretty profound and pretty quick. That's what I normally do. I'm going to let you listen to the clinic footage first and my coaching, and then I'm going to do a voiceover with a bit more detail. You know, he's got to wait. And then, is there much pressure on that?
A little bit.
Okay. Let him work it out. Yeah, just let him work it out. He's experimenting. He's trying to find out where the release of pressure comes from. Let him work it out. There, release. Good. Release. See? So just prior to this footage, I'd got him just being good with lateral flexion, just following it. And here is when we were adding on. We wanted him to wait and catch him in between chomps, which is what we did. Now, the quality of his lateral flexion is poor. He's actually got a head tilt, but I worry about fixing that once he's following the rein and then he's waiting and he's not chomping, his mouth is more quiet. Then I start working on the actual quality of the actual flexion to fix it. Then I put it in motion, and only then I start working on, you know, relaxation of the pole, vertical flexion, and then reintroducing contact. But this is a start. So you can see, and here, you know, he's so much quieter in the mouth. Horses are really clever. If you target something, they find it. So to follow my training insights, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and also visit my website, Calm, Willing, Confident Horses, to find out more about my courses, my books, my coaching, my blogs, and more.